Hey guys, Paul Morrow here again for Opsdesk.org, doing a big news recap. The news you need to hear on Tuesday, 8 July. Here we go real quick. Now, big news obviously is the fact that DOJ is investigating both James Comey and John Brennan. If you've been following the Ops Desk, if you subscribe, you know from our podcast over a month ago now, almost exactly a month, that you could feel the Comey case coming, and we laid it out. Almost certainly that 8647 thing he did with the shells, that was to try to frame this so that he can say, you know what, Donald Trump is after me personally. This is a vendetta. He was setting that up because almost certainly he has loyalists that are still inside the Hoover building, that's FBI headquarters, and they've been telling him, hey, boss, they're looking at you. The rumors are flying here. Because apparently in this leak, they found a whole trench of documents that were from Comey that didn't go into the normal reporting silo. That came out. And then all of a sudden you're getting all of this stuff. Comey has got real trouble here, as does Brennan. The Brennan situation looks to me, all of this, by the way, comes from Crossfire Hurricane. The Brennan situation is relative to the fact that he forced the Steele dossier into the FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act warrant, that they used in Crossfire Hurricane against the Trump administration, the Trump campaign, and against Carter Page. Now, I've been involved in FISAs numerous times. They're very hard to get. They were set up from the Patriot Act. They're a valuable tool. I know a lot of people don't like them, but for the purposes of counterterrorism and counterespionage, counterintel, they are vital. You got to have them, especially in counterterrorism. And you know, they're a tool that the federal government has to use judiciously, though. That's why they were set up the way they were. You have to populate this big file. The judge has to approve it. A special court down in D.C. There was all these safeguards. They blew through all the safeguards for Crossfire Hurricane. That FISA that they got, I don't understand. The source didn't exist. The source literally doesn't exist. It was a made-up source in Australia. Christopher Steele is a Brit that nobody vetted. And the Hillary Clinton campaign paid for the investigation. FBI, through Bruce Orr and his wife, totally compromised. The whole thing stunk to high heaven. Brennan forced it in, and it looks like he lied under oath potentially in committee talking to Congress, and that's what he's looking at. He's potentially looking at perjury, and they're looking at Comey as well for conspiracy. Now, they may have a statute of limitations issue there. They may try to say it was a continuing thing. It's going to be interesting to see how this gets framed, but almost certainly, if they announced it now, the case has been ongoing, and I think they're probably ready, if not already, in grand jury to try to get indictments on these two guys. Never thought I'd see the day, and I'm not happy about it, frankly, because it feels Banana Republic-ish to be putting the head of the CIA and the head of the FBI potentially in a grand jury case and potentially in jail. But on the other hand, if they did the crime, and I have to say, this really does stink. They really lost the thread. And, full disclosure, I've had conversations with John Brennan. I met him when I was working, and there's just like, I don't know, there's like nobody home. There's a light on, nobody home. I don't know what to make of that guy, but something went badly south. You hear all kinds of stuff about that guy. Let's see what comes out. All right, let's move on. This stuff against ICE is heating up like crazy, and it has to stop. All right? We had 10 people collared yesterday for shooting at ICE agents in Texas. More power to the feds for taking this case federal. But here's the thing. It's much like I talked about against Iran when they're talking about how they have to gather intel now against Iran because we could get into a hot situation with them. You know, for 4 years, we had nothing in this area. The Biden administration and Chris Wray and Merrick Garland did nothing in this area as they rioted, because it's all the same people. It's Antifa, Trantifa, which is the transgender Antifa. It's all the same characters. They're all funded by the same NGOs, and we don't have any intel on them. That's why these arrests are so important. You had a near riot today in San Francisco under similar circumstances. They were too gentle about it. You got to make more arrests, make conspiracy cases, dump the phones, map the networks, figure out who the leaders are, and then figure out who's funding them. Because almost certainly there's foreign money going in here. And we're playing catch up here because the Biden administration, when it came to anything like this, real enterprise level investigations was just MIA. They sucked. All right, real quick, Eric Adams is getting sued here in New York by a bunch of former police. It very well could kill his chances at the next mayoralty because there are serious criminal allegations in there, not specifically against him, but against his people. I think it's going to get ugly. Just a heads up, it's worth watching. All right, I know the players. And lastly, Ketanji Jackson is the one in an 8-1 decision recently at SCOTUS. She's clueless. Paul Morrow for the Op.